Thanks for joining me today. I thought we would do something really nice and simple, which is something I haven't done since I was a child, actually. And that is doing these magic water paintings. I don't know if you guys have ever done these before. Magic painting just by using one of these little brushes and a little cup of water, and that's really all you need. It's not like traditional watercolor or even those like child's watercolor, Crayola sets or anything. It's just all of the color is on the pages already, and then it's activated just by the stroke of a little brush and a little tiny bit of moisture. So I'm pretty excited because I think it's just a simple, fun, relaxing thing to do. And as I was looking at what kinds of magic painting books they have available, I was really excited to see how many varieties there were. You can see I settled on Greek myths, and I'll tell you why in just a second, but there were ones with woodland creatures and ones with dragons, and there were ones with all kinds of different mythological creatures and things like that. So if you're interested in finding one for yourself, there's so many great options, so I thought that was really fun to be able to choose. But the reason I chose Greek myths is one, because I love Greek myths, and I love astronomy, and so many of these stories are written in the stars and the constellations. But also, I happen to be working on a video right now about Hellenistic philosophy that I hope you will all really enjoy. So I thought this would be kind of a fun tie-in to that. So anyway, before we get started painting, be forewarned, I'm not an artist or anything, so it will come out how it comes out. But let's take a look at just kind of the kinds of pictures that are inside. I'm excited to look. I took a little sneak peek, but I waited for you guys to really, really look around inside the book. So, and like I said, it comes with a little brush, just kind of snugly fitted right into the cover, and its little pockets right here. And all you have to do is just kind of pull that out. So we'll just take that, set that off to the side for later. So now let's just take a look at what's inside. Obviously on the front here we have the Trojan horse, famous story most people know from the sack of Troy. And on the front here, our sort of title page, and then we just crease this open. It's always so pleasurable to crease open a book for the first time, isn't it? Okay, so let's just gently crease that. And it says right here, dip the brush into water, then brush it across the black patterns and lines within each shape to see the paint magically appear. So that's nice. So we have Pegasus right here. And here, if you can see, see that. Just making sure you can. We have some of the pantheon of Greek gods and goddesses. So Zeus with his lightning bolts, Poseidon with his tridents, probably Hera, Artemis, Aphrodite. We have Pandora with her box of trouble. In Greek mythology, Pandora is the first female, and just like in a lot of Western religion and mythology and belief, the first female is the one who sort of unleashes trouble upon the world, right? So here's Pandora opening the box, and you can see all all the beasties and things. I think they look pretty cute though. And then, speaking of cute, we have Cerberus guarding the gates of the underworld. Three-headed dog. Probably goes through a lot of milk bones. And what else? We have the myth of the labyrinth. So here's the fight in the labyrinth, and this is the famous fight against the Minotaur. And here we have Theseus fighting the Minotaur. That's a good one. These must be the sirens or the sea nymphs, usually the daughters of Poseidon. A lot of times we just talk about them as mermaids, but their long flowing hair. Oh, and then we have Chariot of the Sun. This is, I believe, Apollo's chariot. But I believe this is Apollo's son trying to take the chariot out for a spin, and not having a lot of success. You have to get a driver's ed for that. Medusa. I always wanted a snake for a pet. Except I could never stand, that you had to feed them mice. But if you had snake hair, you would just have snake pets all the time. So many of those. And then we have that must be King Midas, I would think, because there's looks like maybe a little bit of magic going on right there with his Midas touch, turning everything into gold. And then smooth this out a little bit more. These are all so pretty, aren't they? They all have a lot of really, really pretty detail. Smooth them a little bit. And there's a nice flap in the back too. This one is either Diana or Artemis, goddess of the hunt. Oh yeah, I think this must be Artemis. It's really beautiful. this must be Heracles, or maybe more famously known now as Hercules, and the Hydra. And Heracles or Hercules, very famous. One of the tasks that Heracles had to do and to prove himself worthy of the gods. Here's Poseidon looking rather serious with his very large trident, creating quite the tempest. And just like on the cover, we have our big Trojan horse and all the Trojans. I'm about to find a big surprise in there. Again, obviously the sacking of Troy talks directly of Helen, where we get the name for the Hellenistic era or period. Oh, here is Jason and the golden fleece, I imagine, which would mean this would be Medea, I would think, right here. So Jason and his Argonauts, who went after the golden fleece to help make his ship fly, and Medea, not known for her forgiveness. But she had a rough go of it. Oh, I think this is the one I'll do. This is Andromeda tied to the rocks here. So let's do this one. This is one of my favorite stories. But let's just see what the last one is. Oh, it's Pegasus. I like that one too. But yes, let's do, I think I'm going to go ahead and paint this one, because, one, I really love the composition of this. Let's see. And then also, I love this story. So let's go ahead and do the picture of Andromeda and the sea monster. So I'm going to set that up down here and smooth it out. And then try to get it kind of painted and see what kind of colors come out. Hopefully it'll be really beautiful. And we can talk a little bit about what the story of Andromeda is. So let's take a closer look. Okay, so first I'm gonna let's just kind of make sure we're nice and creased. And then what we do is we dip we're just going to dip the paintbrush in a little water. So right now it's dry. Swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh. It's dry. So we're going to dip it. See, no color. Maybe once we dip it though. Just a tiny dip. I don't want to saturate it. Oh, which reminds me, they actually provide this flap here, so let's take that up. And then I think you're going to take this kind of back flap and you can lift it. And look at that. And bingo wingo. There we go. Okay. And we're in business. Okay, so now I've got a little bit of water on it, but I'll get just a tiny bit more. Okay, let's take a look. Maybe we should start like on the inside and work our way out. Let's start with maybe the sea monster itself. Just kind of take a look at how that goes. There we go. Swoosh, swoosh. the reasons I like the story of Andromeda. Ooh, look at that red. Big scary sea monster. But I think you're pretty cute anyway. So one of the reasons I like Andromeda's story is because it doesn't just have one constellation in it, it has two. And one of them, I think, personally, is one of the easiest, most recognizable constellations, even for neophyte stargazers to find. So, I used to teach children how to find some of the constellations at a planetarium, and I would always start with Cassiopeia's chair because it's a very simple one to find. It looks like a W. You probably know that. And you can usually see it from most parts of the earth in most seasons very, very clearly. Just a big W. You might wonder why I'm talking about Cassiopeia when we're looking at poor Andromeda here. But I bet there's plenty of you out there who are saying, well, that's because Cassiopeia is none other than Andromeda's mother. You would be right. Cassiopeia is one of the characters in Greek mythology who is actually emblazoned in the stars out of infamy rather than out of great adoration. She was sort of put up in the stars as a punishment for her vanity, actually. And her vanity is also sort of the beginning of Andromeda's story here. It's funny when you think about it, that we remember Cassiopeia so well for her vanity, when we also remember so many other characters from Greek mythology for their beauty. We remember Helen for her beauty. We remember Adonis for his beauty. Aphrodite for her beauty. But if you got too vain, like Narcissus or Cassiopeia, well, that was a different story. And Cassiopeia, she bragged of her own beauty so much that it really enraged one particular fellow who you do not want to enrage, and that was Poseidon, the god of the sea. And now you're probably putting things together, because I am painting a sea monster. So Poseidon was the father of the sea nymphs. He was a rather proud father, and he thought that he had very beautiful daughters, and he took umbrage with Cassiopeia's bragging and her vanity, and so he did what any reasonable person would do, and he started attacking all of the people under Cassiopeia's rule, right? That's what you would do? Surely not. But that's what he did. He sent this sea monster here, who I'm sure was just a lovely person who just got caught up in all this, as I feel sea monsters always do. They just want to live their lives, you know? Anyway, the sea monster was sent to ravage the people who lived under Cassiopeia. And so Cassiopeia did what all parents do, and decided to sacrifice her child. You're right, that's not what all parents would do. As a parent myself, I try not to judge the actions of other parents, of course. It's easy being a parent, is it? However, I think sacrificing your own child is, just never the way to go. So, she did though. Maybe it was a bit of a trolley problem, you know, the one for the many or what have you. Whatever the case, Andromeda was tied to the rocks here. And she was used to sort of sate the sea monster, certainly to draw his attention. However, even though things look grim for poor Andromeda here, things don't end badly for her. The hero Perseus actually comes along and frees her just in the nick of time, I imagine. It's always just in the nick of time. Oh, there's a little bit of yellow here, kind of a gradient in our sea monster, becoming kind of Cheeto colored, like a Flamin' Hot Cheeto, I guess. And so anyhow, he rescues her, and you know, ostensibly they live happily ever after. And as the story goes, Cassiopeia's punishment is put up in the stars in her chair. You might be curious why that's a punishment, because to somebody vain, surely being remembered for all eternity in the stars must be a pretty nice gig. However, Cassiopeia's chair is very often upside down, and that just can't be comfortable at all, not for anybody. So Cassiopeia has a rather uncomfortable place up there in the heavens. Meanwhile, I believe it was Athena who felt that Andromeda was actually quite brave and gracious and strong throughout all of this. And so she was given a place in the heavens to honor her courage. And so Andromeda is up there through the goodwill of Athena, and the goddess of wisdom. And so she's up there with her mother, but for different reasons, and situated more comfortably, I think. So it's an interesting story. There are many stories from this era about parents having to sacrifice their children. And there are lots of stories about people being tied to rocks for monsters to come. They're effective devices, right? They allow for the highest possible drama at the last possible moment. So, I quite like how the colors have sort of an ombre or a gradient. So nice. Do a little bit up here. And I don't think, oh no, there is a little tiny bit coming off on my hand. Oh, but now my hand has the power to spread a little color, which makes me feel rather magical, actually. Swoosh, swoosh. I don't know why I make that swoosh. It just feels right, doesn't it? Swoosh, swoosh, like that. I think these are quite neat. you'll enjoy the series on philosophy I'm working on. I've always had an interest in philosophy, and I especially love this era because it's sort of the beginning of all of it in the Western world. And the switch from classical Greek thinking to Hellenistic thinking is quite interesting to me. So I've been thinking of making a little series about it. If it's something that sounds interesting to you, of course you can always let me know. I try very hard to listen to the things that might be interesting to you. I feel very lucky in that I feel a lot of the things that are interesting to me tend to be interesting to a lot of you and vice versa. So that allows me to have a lot of fun. Okay, so now that we sort of have our colors of the sea monster, I'm going to wade into sort of the other little winding bits of him later, because otherwise my wrist will get even more colorful. Although I suppose I already have tattoos, so. But I'm going to go ahead and start in on Andromeda. I wonder what color hair she'll have. It's very long and pretty. Let's start with her face. Let's see. Poor Andromeda must be quite scary, no matter how cute of a sea monster is looking at you. Okay, so there she is. Like that. Her beautiful little Grecian gown here. Oh, so pretty. I have a gown that is really close to the draping of this. It's kind of a cooler, mintier color, but it's similar. I haven't found anywhere to wear it yet, but I sort of tend to buy clothes that I want to wear and then just manufacture reasons to wear them instead of the other way around. Do you do that? You think, I would like to have a dress like this, so I will find a reason to wear it. I think it's a nice way to live sometimes, as long as you don't go overboard, right? Trying to think if I've played any video games with any sea monsters or anything in them lately. Oh, I suppose Obra Dinn. I don't know if any of you played that. Just one of the Lucas Pope games. He also did, Papers, Please, which I did a roleplay of years and years ago. But Obra Dinn has a sea monster. I quite love shipwrecks and sea monsters and things like that. This is for further out in the future, but I would like to do a little series on some shipwrecks as well. Quite fascinated by them. Like that. Little deposits of color here and there. Smoosh. Smoosh. You can kind of like smoosh the brush in a little bit too. Smoosh, smoosh like that. I believe there's also a story of Prometheus, the very one who gave humans fire. Thank you, Prometheus, by the way. That was a solid. Being chained to the rocks so that Aquila, Zeus's eagle, if I'm not mistaken, let's do her shackles. Oh, little gold shackles. Very fancy. And her headband. Oh, yes. Oh, it's not a headband, is it? It's like a tiara or a circlet or something, of course. Oh, she's a blonde. Alright then. There we go. We get bad raps as being kind of bimbos, don't we? As blondes. I think bimbos are nice. Go bimbos. I'm just kidding, of course. Some of the most intelligent people I know are sort of flaxen haired, actually. Don't think it really comes down to hair color. Anyway, Prometheus, though, was, if I'm remembering correctly, he was also bound to rocks, and Aquila was sent to peck out his organs, and then each day his organs, I think, were meant to regenerate. That's a really cruel fate. He too was rescued, I believe, in some tellings by Heracles. I think it depends on the telling, but also tied to rocks, and also, you know, pretty nice guy. Just we really need to have more of an appeals system before we just tie people to rocks and send monsters at them. Though Aquila, in Aquila's defense, just a, you know, dutiful, stalwart eagle who was also up in the stars too. So, okay, now let's do the rest of the tail of the sea monster. Sea Monsters always makes me think of a band I like called The Wedding Present. There we go. Again, very orangey. I like the choice to make him kind of warm colored. I feel oftentimes sea monsters get sort of a cool color palette, you know, just being of the sea. And, you know, who says so? Now, how many sea monsters have you met? Genuine question. If you've met any sea monsters, sound off in the comments. If you are a sea monster, sound off in the comments. If you want to read a cool book about sea monsters, there's this great book called, well, it's really a novella. It's not very long. It's very good and strange. If you like sort of speculative fiction, that's rather absurd. It's called Mrs. Caliban. I believe it was written in the 80s, maybe the late 70s. It's lovely. don't hear people talk about it enough. I won't say too much about it. But Mrs. Caliban is a really, really, really neat story. And it does have a bit to do with sea monsters. Look at that. I am not an artist at all. I have a great admiration for anybody who is visually talented. And it is actually today, not the day I publish this, but the day I'm recording it, the birthday of my very dear friend Kira. And she is the person who has done the beautiful art work for my channel, the banner and drawing, and she is a truly gifted artist. But the thing I most love and admire about her as an artist is that even though she really, really has what one might call a knack for, or like a natural skill for art and a natural eye for art, she never ever stops pushing herself to improve. And she just has the ability to create these, these entire worlds in just single frames sometimes. I'm so amazed by her, but her generosity of spirit and her imagination for how she sees the world, it just comes across in her art. So if you're curious, you can always look at my YouTube homepage or whatever you want to call it, and she's the one who's done the really lovely drawing there, and there's a link to some of her work, and it's just really magical. I know that there's a lot of YouTube who create visually, and please feel free to anytime you want, plug yourself in my comments, please. I quite like it. I like to see what you're doing, and I like for everybody else to kind of get to show what they're doing. So never feel bashful. If you have something that you kind of want to show to us all, please do. It's delightful, and it's never anything that I will like block or discourage, because I don't know, I'm quite in awe of it. I think if there were a skill I could have, I certainly think being able to create visual worlds would be a wonderful, wonderful gift. Wonderful gift to have. Anything you create is, whether it's a song or a picture or a video of landscapes or something you've created, or a poem or a story or a program. I don't know, any act of creation is creating a space for somebody to dream in. How wonderful is that? Oh, I like this. It's very briny and mossy here. Isn't that lovely? Some of you might know I grew up and spent almost all of my life in the Pacific Northwest up until really recently, just up until just a couple years ago, and really just in Seattle, a place that I will always love. And I find myself, even though I'm very, very happy where I am now, I find myself missing the briny sea air. I know some people really don't like it. I love it. It's so specific. It makes me think of seagulls and salt and riding ferries very late at night time and that sort of thing. Up to our little hand, like that. There we go. Oh, speaking of sea monsters, I know, a lot of you had asked if I had seen Fallout, the television show. I have. I was, maybe a little bit nervous. A lot of the shows that have been adaptations of either books or video games in the fantasy genre over the last years, not all of them have been great. Although I will say, The Last of Us, and of course, this is, what everybody says, so it's not like it's anything new, but I was really happy with it. I wasn't originally going to watch it just because The Last of Us felt like such a complete cinematic experience as it was. Just playing it was already as a game it felt so complete. I thought what's the point of it? But no, I was really delighted being able to sort of relive it, and the ways in which they expanded upon and retold it. So with Fallout, I was a little apprehensive, but I loved it. Really, by the end, there were a few things in the storytelling, especially in the beginning, where I wasn't completely certain about, but by the end I think I was quite sold. It felt like it was in the hands of people who really, love the Fallout universe. I liked the way the characters talked to each other. I liked the way that the relationships developed. I liked the way that the morality existed for each character, the way it might exist in a playthrough for a player. I myself can never really do the chaos playthrough, or the renegade playthrough. I can't bring myself to do it. But I did feel like they were kind of, giving a really good idea of what it would feel like to have the morality of someone who grew up in a vault, the morality of someone who might have grown up in a brotherhood. So I thought that was fun. And I've been saying okie dokie a whole lot more lately. Okie dokie. Just a little bit swirl, 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 like right around the hair, like that. Tap, tap. Just right there. Right there. Right there. Like that. Okay. I think I have a quick curiosity. I want to see what color they did the teeth of the monster. Have they left them white or have they made them a little bit more yellow? Perhaps they're a little bit blood soaked. I doubt it. Let's find out though. Oh yeah. Just kind of a bone color. It's like a bone color. Okay. And then of course there's all the water. But I think I kind of like the pop of color and then leaving the water maybe as a little bit of white space here. I think it's kind of fun that way. But now I have Andromeda and the sea monster. And who's to say, maybe in this playthrough they'll just become the best of friends. You really just never know. And then as that dries, I'll be able to do more of them, and so that'll be really, really fun. It's been kind of just relaxing. I think I quite like the entire sort of Jason and the Argonaut saga. Of course, Medea's, such an interesting story, and I really like this picture here so much too of Artemis and the hunt and our little dog. I mean, look at his little nosy. It's just such a cute little nosy right there. So I think I'll have a good time doing all of these, to be honest. I'm quite pleased. The paper is kind of nice and thick. I just love the sounds of kind of nice thick paper too. Horses. See, these are the sea nymphs that Poseidon was, I guess he was fighting for their honor, I suppose. But, I love stories of the labyrinth, and of Ariadne, and just all of it. Actually, here's the string. I just realized. Do you see that? Little swirling. So that would be the string of Ariadne. And if you look, actually, you can see her string is kind of strewn throughout the labyrinth. What a great detail. That's so neat. So all kinds of great details and things to explore here. And it was really fun to just spend a little bit of time I'm doing this with you today. So thank you. And like I said, I'll be back with a little bit more sometime soon. But until then, I would love to hear if you have a favorite myth that you would like to tell us about. And especially if you have myths that are lesser known, I'm always kind of curious to learn more of them. And I'm really curious to learn about myths from cultures that we don't necessarily hear about as often either. So if you know, if you have any favorites and you would like to share them, please do. And if you have any, like I said, if you have any art or projects that you're working on that you would like to share in the comments, please don't be shy about doing that. I would love to see, and I would just love for other people to see too. I think we should all be proud of the things we pour our hearts into, and it would be a real pleasure for me to be able to help other people see, you know, what you're working on. If it makes you happy, it would make me happy. So anyway, I hope that your day is filled with no mean sea monsters, only nice ones. And thank you for spending your time with me today. I will see you again really